Welcome to the Success Sculpting Show with Stephen Pierce, bringing you the right information right now to sculpt a more meaningful and memorable life of success. Join us each week to discover gems to help you grow your mental toughness, expand your will to win, and multiply your results. It's never been easier to learn what to do and how to do it to succeed at what you choose to do. This is truly an experience you won't find anywhere else. Now, here's your host, the Success Sculptor himself, Stephen Pierce.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Success Sculpting Show. I am your host, you know who, Stephen Pierce. And in today's episode, we have the small biz lady herself, Melinda Emerson. She is America's #1 small business expert. She's internationally known as a keynote speaker and an expert on small business startup, business development, and social media marketing. In fact, Melinda's small business advice is widely read, reaching more than 3 million entrepreneurs every week online. And in addition to being a former columnist of the New York Times, she is frequently quoted by other media organizations, including the Wall Street Journal, Fortune, MSNBC, CNBC, and Fox News. Now check this out, y'all. She is the host of Small Biz Chat, the longest running live chat on Twitter for small business owners. And in fact, Forbes magazine named her the #1 woman for entrepreneurs to follow on Twitter. She also publishes a resource blog at succeedasyourownboss.com, which is syndicated by the Huffington Post. She's also the author of Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months, which is in its 2nd edition. And she has this incredibly cool, super cool ebook called How to Become a Social Media Ninja. What-da? Melinda is also the founder and president of Quintessence Group, an award-winning marketing consulting firm which is based in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And check it out. Her client list is a who's who of those banking billions. Listen, her clients include Federal Express, ADP, Pitney Bowes, Dell, Staples, Sam's Club, Chase Bank, Facebook, IKEA, Verizon, Wells Fargo, and Xerox. Hey, man, listen, I want you all to welcome to the show Melinda Emerson. In fact, her and I were so deep in the conversation, I recorded this after the conversation. So I'm just going to go ahead and just move this along into a conversation that Melinda and I were already deep into. Enjoy the show. They have to be comfortable. Let me ask you this, because you sent me a copy of the first couple of chapters of your book that's coming out in January, Fix Your Business, a 90-day game plan to get your life back and reduce chaos, right? Yeah. And you said, and one of the things you said in there was, entrepreneurs live how most people won't, so we can live how most people can't. What did you mean by that?
Well, I believe that when you first start out in business, at least in the first few years, it is really a hazing process. I mean, it really is. There is so much upfront sacrifice involved. You really do have to recoil your lifestyle for a few years until you can get to the point where your business is actually making money. You know, it takes 12 to 18 months, 18 to 24 months for a small business to break even, let alone get to the point where it can replace somebody's, 6-figure corporate salary. And most people just aren't willing to hang in there long enough to see that happen, and they're not willing to recoil their lifestyle. They're not willing to go to the shoe cobbler as opposed to the shoe store, right? So I think that if you don't have a sacrificial attitude from the beginning, if you're not married to somebody who's willing to sacrifice alongside of you, if you don't get the family buy-in, listen, an unsupportive spouse can kill a business faster than a bad marketing plan. And that's what people don't understand, because it's a lifestyle decision. And that's why whenever I teach people about business, the first thing I ask them is, what do you want and why do you want it? Let's figure that out before we talk about business plans, marketing plans, niche markets, internet marketing. Let's talk about, how do you want to live?
Yeah, you know what? And to that point, I was watching one of your presentations. I was either a presentation or an interview, and you really hammered on the fact that it was important to have a life plan before a business plan. And you're kind of talking about that now. Why is that important?
Because I have seen people quit jobs good jobs to start a business that they ended up hating because they didn't think it through. You know, it's like you want to be a photographer, you want to specialize in weddings. Well, wedding season starts like, you know, March to November. So if you have small kids that are in a lot of activities, you're not going to be there because you're going to be at the wedding because weddings are on Saturdays.
Right.
So you got to think through where are you set up in your life right now to do this business? What kind of support system do you have around you that's going to pick up the slack? Because you can't assume your spouse will, you know, and it's especially tough for women entrepreneurs. So it's like, you got to look at where you're at. I tell young entrepreneurs, young women entrepreneurs in particular, hey, you feel like having a baby? Okay, well, your business is going to be your baby first. Because starting a business and starting a family is a recipe for disaster everywhere. And I tell them my story. Look, I waited until I was married for 5 years before I had my son. Because my business consumed my life for a while.
Yeah, you know what? And I was just thinking about something you said. I'm glad you brought that up. Especially you talked about 5 years you waited before you had the baby when you were married because the business was consuming your life. And you talk about it takes like 18, 24 months like that before a business becomes profitable or break even.
Which means the business can finally pay for itself. Like because what I have to help people understand is in the first few years of a business, more money is going to go out than come in.
And that's if they're doing it the right way and not eating their profits. Like you said, going to the shoe store, you're talking about 18 to 24 months to break even when they're operating the business properly, correct?
Right. I'm talking about payroll taxes. Yeah. I'm talking about paying yourself, paying your vendors on time, quarterly taxes, like doing it the right way. I mean, the other thing that I see a lot of entrepreneurs do, and this really makes me crazy, is they underreport their income because they're trying to avoid taxes.
Okay.
And so that works until you get ready to decide you want to buy something or you want to borrow some money. And you have shown for 3 years that you've only made $10,000 a year because you were trying to avoid taxes.
There you go.
I've seen this, and I've especially seen business owners of color do this. And it's like, look, man, you pay taxes because you're making money. But you need to pay yourself with a paycheck. You don't need to be robbing the cash register every time you need some money.
Right, but
do things legit.
Yeah, and let me ask you this: the whole thing of people wanting to appear like they're successful entrepreneurs, and you and I were having a previous conversation. We were talking about how people are investing in the image as opposed to the substance. It seems like a lot of entrepreneurs want to seem like they're successful entrepreneurs, but they're not really having that proper discipline and focus and having the structures, the systems, the processes, the plans and everything, and really hustling while it's hurting and there's no glory in it. It's like they just want to say they're an entrepreneur and just leap into the glory phase, if you will, of, oh, I'm successful. So they have the appearance of it, but they don't really have a business.
Well, one of my favorite business experts in the world, Barry Moltz, he said something to me a few years ago that I like to repeat, but I do give him credit for it. And he always says, it ain't about what you make, it's about what you keep.
Right.
And people want to always talk about gross revenue.
Yeah.
And I'm like, baby, I want to talk to you about net revenue. Talk to me about your net revenue. Talk to me about the profitability of your business. Do you even know what the profitability is of your business?
Right. Most don't.
You know? And people get caught up because, I mean, years ago, the Harvard Business Review did a report and they said that 68% of small businesses are not profitable by any measure you could possibly create.
Wow.
That's a whole lot of people washing without soap. Whole lot.
Man.
You know, and I mean, look, if you're not making money, that don't make much sense to me. Because you have a glorified hobby. And people have to be honest. And part of it is, you know, people let their fear of math be the reason why they don't know what's going on in their business. They don't know how much money is in every deal. They don't know, you know, what the profitability is on every sale. And that is what is killing people. They're not using financial information to make business decisions. They're not even calling an accountant until tax time.
Right.
You need to use your accountant like they are a business advisor to your business.
Right. Well, why do you think that's the case? Why do you think people want to become entrepreneurs and they want to have the trappings of it and all the accolades that go with being a successful business owner, but they kind of disdain the actual work and discipline and focus that's involved? Like you're talking about the finances, the accounting, the tracking, and all that stuff. Why do you think that's the case?
Because people have fantasies of grandeur about running a business.
Okay.
People really think it's far easier than it actually is. And that's what is so scary. You know, particularly people who have had success in corporate America. These people in particular have a false sense of confidence going into a small business. Like they figure they survived the corporate world. How hard could small business ownership be? And they don't realize all of the systems and things around them that exist that help them do their job, that they at most do maybe 2 or 3 jobs in that one job. They don't realize that when they put that shingle out that says open for business, they've taken on 10 to 14 jobs at one time. They don't get it until they're in it. And sometimes they're just in it, they're in it too far.
I like that you said they don't get it until they're in it. And what you're talking about actually goes into something that I heard you say. You said that in the first few years of your business owns you. You don't own your business. Now, see, for me, and probably for people listening, that's kind of a mind bender. So I want you to kind of get into that and help give people the proper perspective on starting a business. Because a lot of people think, hey, I'm in business. Like it could be network marketing, it could be their own deal or whatever. And now they want to go around with their chest out like peacocks saying they're a businessman or they're a businesswoman and don't have a clue that when you are really building a business, you don't have time to be sticking your chest out for anybody, trying to look a certain way because you're too busy hustling and thinking and strategizing and analyzing and criticizing and creating to build something of substance. Talk to us about that.
Well, I think that people get into this false sense of mistaking busyness for business. Okay. Right. So they run around to all these networking events. They run around to these conferences. They become what I call, conference junkies. Right. They go to this one, to that one, to this one, to that one. And they never take enough time to go home and actually implement the stuff they learned at the latest conference. They go to networking events and they give out cards. They do what I call drive-by networking. Anybody they meet, they give them their card. They don't even have take the time to actually make meaningful conversation and try to build a relationship, because people don't understand. It's about like, know, and trust. That's why people do business with people. People quit jobs because they don't like people. People do business with people because they like them. Right. So you have to figure out how to build rapport, how to build relationships, and not be so transactional. People have to learn how to be more interested than interesting. Right. You got to do more listening than talking. And whenever I go to a networking event, I only really try to make 5 key contacts. That's it. And the reason why I do that is because I only have time to follow up with 5 people.
Right. You know what? Right there. I want you to talk about what you just said, because to me, that makes a big difference in the quality of the entrepreneur. When people go and like you're talking about conference junkies, they go to all these different conferences and all these different networking events. They go to a lunch thing, they go to an after hours thing, but they don't have a strong follow-up system in place. Well, right?
They also don't have a strategy before they go. Because see, here's my thing. When I'm going to an event, when I look at the invitation, the first thing I look at is how much does it cost to go? Okay. Because if the cost isn't high enough, the kind of people I need to be aren't going to be there. That's first. Secondly, you don't ever go late to a networking event, because the reception is the event. Once you sit down at a table, you can't network with anybody but the other 8, 9 people at your table. So the reception is key. Third, you need to do some research about who might be at the event or who is on the board of the organization, or get there early so that you can scope it out and maybe be helpful and get some insider information so somebody could point out that real key person you really, really, really want to meet. I mean, you got to be strategic. And Lord, please don't go nowhere without your business cards. Do not do it. You might as well not show up. Taking somebody else's business card, or Lord, grabbing a napkin and writing your stuff on it, please stop it. Don't do it. Because you make yourself look crazy and unprofessional.
So let me ask you this: for entrepreneurs that are listening, that are going to networking events, what are 1 or 2 good ideas and best ways to follow up and be memorable post-event? Because after the event, people go about doing whatever it is they're going to do. But how can someone follow up with the key contacts that they made to be memorable and continue the engagement or elevate their level of engagement to move the relationship forward?
I'm a big fan of handwritten notes.
Okay, I love that. I love that.
Take the time to talk to somebody and actually learn something about them, learn something about their kids, learn something about how they like to vacation. Send them a note. It was so nice to meet you. I really enjoyed talking to you about X. I would love to have an opportunity to spend some time with you again, coffee, lunch, whatever. Let me know a time when you can, or I'll follow up and give you a call sometime really soon. Handwritten note, handwritten address. People keep those. People don't throw those away.
Okay, let me ask you this. They send the note, then what should they do? After they send the note, what would you recommend their next follow-up step be?
Well, their first step should be anybody you meet, you need to connect with them on LinkedIn immediately.
Okay.
And if you can't find them on LinkedIn, that tells you a lot about who they are. Then the handwritten note. Then, maybe a week and a half after the handwritten note, make a call or send an email to follow up to see if their person might really be interested in spending more time with you.
Okay, so here's the question. A lot of people, I have, at least from my experience, from what I've seen, a lot of people that go to networking events and try to follow up, their follow-up is all about the deal, trying to sell their products or sell their services. They don't really understand how to finesse and how to really build the relationship based on what the other person is interested in, because it's always about what they're interested in and what they want. Well, what they want is business, and what they're interested in is that person's money or that person's business. And a lot of them don't understand. For example, here's one of the things you see. You look at these entrepreneurs' Facebook pages and it's pitch, my product. Look at this person's result, that person's results. And there's nothing of any substantial value that's being provided to the marketplace. It's just a constant pitch. Why is that? And what can people do to kind of balance that thing out?
That's bad practice. I mean, nobody wants to be sold to, especially not on the internet. I think you have to friend raise. You have to engage people with information.
Okay, hold on. Go say that again. You just ran. See, that's one of your words you just ran through. You got to do what you said. You got to do. You got to friend raise. Say that again.
Got a friend raise.
Yeah, okay.
Engage with people. Like, I remember when I first got on Twitter, back in 2008, there were 3 things that I did every day. I shared a helpful article written by somebody else, because back then I didn't even have a blog. I answered somebody's small business question every day, and I shared something personal about myself every day. So back then my son was like 1.5, 2, and so I literally would get on there and be like, had to act like an ape to get JoJo to eat a banana this morning, like somebody, so that people would not just think I was some business tweeting drone, you know what I mean? That
Right.
They would realize that I was a mother, that I was a parent, that I was, that I was professional, but that I was a person.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. What you just said, I can appreciate. You are delivering value and you are providing content. It seems like a lot of entrepreneurs don't know how to do that today. They don't know how to demonstrate expertise and allow the content to create this gravitational pull where people are like, hey, you know what? I want to know more about what you're doing, or I want to know more about your products or your services. See, what you just talked about is, hey, you went out there and you provided value to the marketplace. But it seems like a lot of entrepreneurs are so short in their understanding of their own industries that they don't really have substantial content. So how do they overcome that barrier so they can go, so they have something else to post? Because it's like, hey, the only thing I know to post is about my product.
Well, that should be the last thing you post about. I have a 4/1. So you should be posting 4 helpful things before you post one thing about yourself. And you need to sell extremely carefully. You got to build. I mean, really, when you think about social media, there are what I call the 6 C's of social media communication. So the first thing you have to do is connect. And so you got to find out where these people are online, whether it's, I like to start with LinkedIn, but, you could do Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Then you've got to communicate. And what are you going to communicate? Well, you need to communicate with helpful content, and you have to communicate with helpful content consistently. And once you communicate with helpful content consistently, you become a trusted member of the community. Once you get to trust, that is when you can turn the relationship into commerce. But what happens is people go from connect to commerce, or people try to go from connect to commerce. And it's like, look, unless I met you today and I was looking for your exact thing, like I was like, wow, I've been looking for a vendor to help me implement an ERP software program. And I met you at a networking event, and that was exactly what you do. That is the only time it works like that, where you just happen to come up on somebody who sold the very thing you were looking for. But most of the time, that ain't it. I mean, and really, you got to think about it like this. When you network in person, it takes 3 interactions for you to get to the point of really having an opportunity to pitch that person for some business. When you are online, it takes 7, as high as 21 quality interactions with a person before they trust your brand, before they would even consider buying something from you. 21, a minimum of 7. But as high as 21 quality interactions to turn a relationship into commerce.
Well, what about the entrepreneur that says, hey, listen here, small biz lady, I ain't got time to be waiting for that. They're like, man, I need to get paid today. So what does the entrepreneur, the one that basically is going out of desperation, what does the entrepreneur do? I know they can't change the dynamics on how it works, but what do you propose? It's like, hey, if you're in a hurry to try to grow your business or get revenue, that's not going to change the dynamics of human interaction and what it's going to take. But what can they do to deal with whatever it is they're dealing with financially and give their business that space and breathing room with those relationships to grow so they can have some level of success?
There are times when you got to go back and get a job. So that you can take the pressure off financially.
Is that quitting though? Would that be considered quitting?
No, it's not quitting. Sometimes you just got to take 2 steps back to take 1 step forward, and that's okay. But business takes time and it takes money. And if you don't have either one of those, you got to go get it from somewhere. Right. So you got to get your time, your money, or your experience. So, and listen, doing anything in desperation is bad because everybody can smell desperation and fear. I agree. It's like cologne. They can smell it. They can see you coming with it. So you want to make sure that you plan. I mean, it's a whole reason why I wrote my first book, Become Your Own Boss in 12 months. And a lot of people gave me a lot of crap for it. Like, SmallBizLady, why does it take 12 months? I don't have 12 months. Listen, let me tell you why. Because you need to start a business that you know something about. You need to have a network that you can sell to, because 90% of all small businesses get business from referrals. You need to clean up your credit if your credit ain't right, because you are your business's credit when you first start out. Right. And then you need to make sure you have a valid business idea, that you have something somebody's actually willing to pay you for. And you might not know that right away. Just because mom and them think you got a good business don't mean everybody else will think it.
Okay, so let's talk about that. I know your book is in the 2nd edition, Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months, for those that are interested in that. And she also has a killer ebook called How to Become a Social Media Ninja. Whatcha? Although that's not a ninja sound. So give us some steps for how people can fire their boss and start their own business over the next 12 months. I know we don't have time to deep dive, but let's give us some highlights.
Sure. Well, first of all, I developed a system, the Emerson planning system, to make your transition from having a job to starting a business. And the first step is really thinking about your life plan, what you want out of life and why you want it, and what you're willing and not willing to do to have that. You need to think about things like, how much money do you need to make to be happy? Do you have the skills that you need to run your business? These are the things you got to kind of have an honest conversation with yourself about. How do you live versus how do you really want to live? Then the second thing you've got to look at is, how you going to pay for it? Because banks do not loan money to start up businesses. So the money to start your business is going to come from your right or your left pocket. So you've got to be prepared for that. Do you have savings? Do you have home equity? Do you have money set aside that you could live off of while you're growing this business? And if not, get a job, right? Right. And let me be super clear what I mean by that. It took me 2 years working Twitter like a job, making no money from doing it before any corporation called and hired me.
Wow.
You
People
love
don't
it
want to hear
enough-
that though.
Do you love it enough to do it for 2 years, making no money doing it?
Yeah, but people don't want to hear that, man. They don't want to hear that.
Well, you want to live like me? You want to have a business like mine? Hard work is involved. Because ain't nobody out here looking for you and ain't nobody giving away anything.
Right.
You have to make them see you.
Yep. When I was giving out my free daily trades, and we were kind of having this conversation earlier, I did it for free for a year and a half, and like I told you, I didn't even know that I could make money off of the things, right? And then I did, but by that time, I had built up such credibility with the audience that they were willing to pay. So in your case, you're hustling on Twitter, where when a lot of people was like, what's a Twitter? What's a tweet? You were already on top of it, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you earned the right to the position you have. And I think with a lot of entrepreneurs, they have this entitlement mentality, and they don't want to earn it. They just want somehow somebody to give it to them. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's really, that's very misguided. Nobody is going to give you anything. So you really do have to make sure that you are in a position that you have something to offer people, and so that they might seek you out. You know, nobody's looking for you. Nobody owes you anything. Nobody owes you any business. So why in the world would you think that somebody would just, come for you? No.
Right. And one of the places where you can see it is really visible, although it's visible in other areas of small business, but this one is just easy to see it in. It's like the network marketing industry, where people will bring someone in and they feel like they're helpless because they're not getting help from their upline. Now, while that may be a bonus, the idea is that, they're going to grow because they're going to be getting help from their upline. But if they don't get help from the upline, they say that's the reason they weren't able to succeed. Well, if you go and start a carpet cleaning company, or you go and start a restaurant, look, you got to do your own deal. You have to go and grow your own business. That doesn't change with anything. So what can entrepreneurs do to take responsibility for their own business success and growth, and the good and bad that comes along with it, and get out of this position of feeling helpless if nobody is there to spoon feed them something?
Well, first of all, whether you're selling Avon, Metaluca, Ameriprise Financial Services, whatever it is, you got to have your own marketing plan. And you have to look and see how much of a saturated market there is around you. Are there 5 other ladies in your church selling Avon too? You got to look at that stuff.
Right.
And then you've got to be honest with yourself before you even sign up for these businesses. I mean, the thing that really makes me crazy about multi-level marketing businesses, to be perfectly honest with you, is that people get drawn into them because they want to be an entrepreneur, sort of. They want to be an entrepreneur, but they're not confident enough to operationalize their own idea. So they're going to go pay for the privilege to sell somebody else's stuff. And that's not to say, I have very good friends that have made millions of dollars with multi-level marketing businesses, right, but they had monster networks. They were great networkers. They weren't introverts looking for some more money on the side.
And they went for it. They went all in.
And they worked their butt off.
Right.
But that kind of business has a shelf life to it. You're not a lifelong seller of whatever it is.
Right. So it's important for you to have your own brand, rather, whatever it is you're doing, have your own brand, so that when something else changes, be it economically, socially, whatever it is, you still have the brand to go wherever it is you're going. Would that be fair?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you also want to make sure that one of the things that I try to tell people is that you have to have a friend. You have to be a friend in order to have a friend. So when it comes to multi-level marketing businesses, what I see a lot of people do, unfortunately, is they call people they ain't called in 10 years. Call
That's
people,
right.
call family members they don't never talk to, but they got an opportunity for them.
Right.
It's like, you want to end up with no friends left, keep doing that stuff.
Right. Well, that's what they're encouraged to do, that, right?
I know, but that's bad practice. Like, you have to nurture your network. You don't want to get to the point where people in your family hate to see your phone number come up in their phone.
Well, let me ask you this: don't you think don't you think for many people unaware, it kind of sets them up for failure because they're like, hey, whoever's in your phone, let's give them a call, even though they haven't heard from them in a while. They're likely to get a no, and now they're really discouraged.
Right. I mean, but listen, you know how many followers I have on the internet, right?
Yes.
I wish you knew how many former college classmates of mine have tried to call me and tell me about opportunity. Or, second cousins. You got all them followers on Twitter. Even if we could just get 10% of those people to buy my coffee or whatever. I'm like, boy, bye. Get off my phone.
I can see them now. They're looking at your name and their phone. They're like, oh yeah. If I can just score with the small biz lady, if I can get Melinda, man, I'm set. But you ain't heard from them in who knows how long. You be like, who's this?
Yeah, in a dog's age. You want to call me up and tell me about the Stella and Dot stuff you selling, or coffee, or look, Metaluca, all of it, Avon, all of it.
Right. So let me ask you this. Although that can be a clear reason why people become discouraged or even fail in network marketing early on, not that they can't bounce back and have success, but some of the early failures is that they have these initial bad practices that have been passed down throughout the years. What are some of the other reasons why small businesses would fail, or small business owners themselves will have businesses that don't succeed?
Well, I think the number one reason why small businesses fail is because people really don't think about how hard it is to run a business. I think the second reason why people fail is because they simply don't have a network to sell to. It's astonishing to me how often people with no friends will start a business. It's amazing. People that are bad at calling people back, don't send holiday cards, just people that are bad friends want to start a business, and the third reason why small businesses fail is because they spend so much time trying to chase new business as opposed to nurturing existing customers.
Right.
Somebody who's already said they love you, they're more likely to give you love again, right? Yeah. Versus just going out and the first sale you make with anyone is the most expensive sale you'll make with anyone.
Right.
Why would you go chase that as opposed to making sure you got a great email list, as opposed to calling customers and saying thank you after they do business with you, as opposed to letting somebody walk in your store and plunk down $50 and leave? You don't know nothing about them. Why would you do that? Get the information, nurture your existing customers. That is the key to success. The fourth reason why small businesses fail is because people don't save enough money before they start a business. So what happens is they just run out of runway. They just run out of cash. Yeah. Cash is king, and you can have a great business, but if you ain't got money to pay the bills at the end of the month, nobody cares.
Yeah, right.
And the fifth reason, and this is probably the deadliest reason, Stephen, if you don't manage your household with a budget, guess what? You're not going to manage your business with one. And successful businesses are run based on up-to-date financial information. It cannot be a surprise to you at the end of the year what your business did financially. You should know.
I'm sorry, to that point, and I'm to that point, when I was out doing my events, I had a P&L off of every workshop that I did. Everybody on my team, they knew. We tracked all of our numbers, the high head count, how many people were there day 1, day 2, day 3, how many people were in there when we were presenting offers, the conversion rates, et cetera. I was working with an organization, no P&Ls. No, zero numbers, zero. No, obviously it wasn't. I left, but it wasn't my doing. But talk to me about the importance of knowing your numbers in business, because it's almost like entrepreneurs treat numbers as an inconvenience.
Listen, profit is how we keep score in business.
Yeah.
So you need to know what the profitability is on everything you're doing. If you're losing money, it should not be a surprise to you. You should know. And you need to know monthly, particularly, depending on what kind of business you're running. Like you're running a retail business, or you're running an e-commerce business where you're managing inventory. You got to know what the age is on that inventory. You got to know what you got to put on sale.
Exactly.
So look at information. But even if you're not selling products, let's say you're selling services.
Okay.
You got to look at what's driving traffic to your website. How much traffic is being driven? What are your best referral services? Are you even looking at the Google Analytics underneath the hood of your website?
Yep. I totally agree.
How many people are accessing your website via phone versus a computer?
Yeah, I'm obsessed with the numbers.
You got to be obsessed with the numbers.
Yeah, let's go back to the first thing you said in terms of failure, because I really want you to hammer on this one and why it's important. You said that many people underestimate how hard it is to start a business. They're sold the easy button because that's how you get them in. But for some reason, they want to keep hitting that easy button, thinking that it's somehow somewhere in there is going to be easy. Help our audience to understand that starting a real business, not multiple businesses at the same time, just one business, takes a lot of work.
Oh yeah, I mean, business is tough. Business is hard. And 50% of all business problems are not so well hidden personal problems. So you've got to check your ego. You've got to make sure that you're not taking things personally. You've got to understand your employees. Your employees are like children. You cannot treat them all the same. They all have different needs and different motivators.
Right.
And your customers do too. So you need to know so much. I mean, you're running a business is a spiritual journey as much as it is anything else.
I like that.
You're gonna be pushed. You're gonna be forced to grow. You've got to keep learning stuff. You know, social media and marketing, mobile web marketing, all this stuff is changing every week. And you got to keep up or you're going to be left behind. And no longer is your competition down the street from you. Your competition is global, baby.
Yeah. And you know what? You're gonna have to park the car right there and talk a little bit more about that, because you're talking about growing and learning. And I've seen entrepreneurs, they don't have time. They need to invest that time in fronting, as the saying goes. You know, they prefer to, do shifty stuff on social media, not picking up books and taking courses and fine tuning skills, learning the latest thing in SEO or Facebook ads or whatever it is that's driving their business, understanding their avatars, marketing, all the stuff that they need to learn. Because like you said, the landscape is shifting and changing so much and so fast, and it's expanding. What happens to the entrepreneur that is too busy to learn?
That's an entrepreneur that will be out of business.
I agree.
If you don't spend the time learning, I mean, for the first 10 years of my business, I took an executive education course somewhere learning how to do something better in my business. Wow. I did Leadership Inc. I did the SBA's E200 program. I did Tuck's, Black Entrepreneur, week-long MBA program. I mean, I took negotiation courses. I took business plan. I did the fast track program. I mean, any course that was out there that I could take to learn how to run my business better, I was like, sign me up.
Wow. And that's unique. A lot of people don't want to do that. A lot of people, Melinda, they don't want to do that.
But even if you don't want to do that, anybody can buy a book for $15 or $16 and read it. I mean, anything you want to know about how to run your business better, somebody has written it down.
Okay, let me ask you this. What about the entrepreneur that says, okay, Melinda, you're right. Buying it is the easy part, but man, reading it is tough. How can an entrepreneur start to get themselves to read more?
Stop watching TV.
There they go. Oh, Melinda, don't do that to me.
Watching TV.
I agree.
I mean, or even set up yourself like one day a week. Like if it's Sunday night, you read, or Monday you read. Like I'm a voracious reader, and I have my own personal library in my house. I mean, look, if my house ever burned down, I'd be like, please save my son, and then please save my book.
In your book.
Because my books are precious to me, and I don't like Kindle. Like I'm old school. Like I actually like paper. I like to flip through books.
Yeah, I hear you. I like that. Yep. I agree.
So I am, I just believe anything you want to know, anything you want to do, you can go read about it and you will be better for it. You just have to make the decision. And I know a lot of millennials are now into Audible, right? They're like, oh, the first thing somebody asked me about my book coming out, is it on Audible? Is it going to be on Audible? I'm like, wow, you guys won't even sit down and read a book. Okay. But look, the thing about it is yes, it will be on Audible, but secondly, you have to invest in yourself. You have to grow yourself to grow your business. Right. Because at the end of the day, your business emanates from you. Most people out here are, solopreneurs. don't have more than, 3-4 employees. So this business is emanating from you. It's in a sense almost a culture of your own personality. So you've got to do better in order to have your business do better.
Yeah, and we're going to help them do better with some social media. We're going to give them a crash course in social media because you are the queen of the small business scene when it comes to social media. So here's the thing. I want you to give us some social media tips, but let me ask you this before you do that, because I see this a lot, even with so-called business people. So I'm going to ask you, which one do you think is best and why? Sharing all about you and what you're doing and your stuff versus sharing content. I already know the answer, but I want you to talk to us.
B.
Yeah, sharing content. Let me ask you this, because you are deep in the social media ecosystem. I mean, listen, you've had the #1 live streaming show on Twitter, on the Small Biz Chat, like basically in history. So I mean, you know this thing. What happens when? Because I think there's this false acceptance when a person posts maybe their new watch. Although people don't know if it's rented, the car, they don't know if it's leased or rented or somebody else's. But so let's put all the fakery aside, like it's a rap video, where the house, the car, the girls, the Jews, everything don't belong to them. Right. So what happens?
Usually, nothing belongs to them.
Right. So what happens? Because when a person posts that and people start liking it, it kind of gives them this false sense that, oh, I have an audience. I have an audience. What is the danger of people who want to become successful business owners going out there just posting all about themselves, looking for this social worship and not posting things that's valuable to the audience?
Well, I think you do yourself a disservice when you don't have real substance. I mean, if all of your pictures are you, your vacation, your house, your car, eventually somebody's going to say, well, what did she actually do to achieve these things? Like but I have actually been criticized. I had a focus group of folks tell me that I was missing from my brand, that my content was amazing, but that they wanted to know more about me.
Interesting.
And I was just like, really? Because I didn't think anybody cared anything about me. As long as I was giving you information to help you make money, I'm not really sure why you want to know how I'm living. Right. But I believe that there is a generation of folks out here who are very interested in what I call the Versace Achi mentality, kind of like, and I'm just like, I live well. I have a nice home and I drive the car I want to drive. I take 6 vacations a year. I just don't want to share that.
Let me ask you this.
I don't want to share them all on Instagram. I just don't.
Right. Let me ask you this. Do you think, though, that a part of that is driven by all these reality shows, the Kardashians, the housewives, which really has no substance, but it's all about their lifestyles? Yes, I do think it's about that. I think everyone is about, let me help you live the life you want. And I want to help you live the life you want too. I want to help you learn how to make money. That's what I want to do. Matter of fact, that's what I do. But I'm also mission driven. So, my mission is to end small business failure. And every single thing I do is driven around that mission. I love that.
So it was never, ever about, be like me, be like Mike. I'm not that.
Yeah.
That's not me.
I love that. And here's the thing. From my observation, I've been doing this for 16 years. It seems when you look at the type of people that follow the person or their personality that is really all about themselves, just posting what they're doing, this, that, and the other, and just really looking for that man worship versus the ones that are really kind of like you. It's like, look, it's hardcore. It's content. Hey, let's go out there. Let's hustle. It's going to hurt, but it's going to work. You can clearly see because I've been doing this for a long time, you can clearly see that the people that operate the way you do, and if I can humbly say the way that I do, where it's really about the substance, you have people that actually grow and build successful businesses. And success obviously is measured differently by different people, but they are experiencing success. But yet when you look at the group of people that are caught up in the man worship and they have stars in their eyes looking at this person that's not giving them anything of value, they're not achieving much of anything. They're running around in circles.
Well, they know more about what's in that person's house than what's in their own, and it is driven by the reality show stuff. It is the, Kim K phenomena and, that kind of stuff. And I'm still trying to figure out why that woman's relevant. But
I don't know, maybe all the surgery. Hey, give us some social media tips, because you are on the ball. You are at the top of the game. You are one of the icons when it comes to social media. And first of all, nobody can beat you in Twitter when it comes to your small biz show. So look, a game's over. Everybody can fight for second place. So help us with some social media tips. Here's the situation. You have somebody, they're a new entrepreneur, and now they're trying to get out there and build relationships, build a base, build a following so they can start to grow their business. What would you recommend they do?
First of all, they need to make sure that their website's ready for visitors. It doesn't make any difference to do anything with social media. If yo welcome mat ain't ready for visitors, you really need to focus on your website. You need to focus on the calls to action on your website. You need to make sure you have 2 or 3 ways to capture people's email addresses when they get to your website. Your website is key to all of it. Because at the end of the day, the whole reason why we do social media is to drive traffic back to our own website. Right?
Yeah.
So let's start with the website piece first. Secondly, as you think about social media, you really need to think about who is your niche target customer and where does that person hang out online? Is it Facebook? Is it Twitter? Is it Instagram? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Snapchat if you're going after the little guys? Where do your fish hang out online?
Right.
And really, you need to focus on 1 or 2 platforms. A lot of business owners are making mistakes by chasing 5 platforms a day. You ain't got time to do that. You need to dominate on 1 or 2 platforms.
Totally agree.
And then, so once you know who the audience is, what the platforms are, then you got to think about your content strategy. Now, in fairness, I have a journalism degree undergrad. My magical power is writing. I'm a prolific writer. If you do not like to write, please don't do that. Do something different. Do a podcast, do videos, do, pictures, artwork, whatever. But you have to figure out what is the thing that's easiest for you to do that you would actually enjoy doing. Or you can outsource the content. If you feel like you need to have written blogs, you can outsource it. But let me tell you something. If you're outsourcing it, it's going to be watered down and generic.
I agree. Yeah, it's not going to have their personality.
So it has to be you. You can't just outsource content and think that content's going to help you stand out. It just does not work like that. I edit every single thing that goes on my blog. Everything is written, edited, approved by me.
So you're talking about content. How important is content to the overall social strategy?
Content is everything. Content is currency.
Yeah, I love that.
It is currency. Listen, I have been blogging consistently since 2009. 86% of the traffic that comes to my website is from organic search.
Wow. All the content, huh?
And what that means is that somebody is going to Google and writing how to hire an accountant, how to become your own boss. And I'm on the first page of Google organic search for lots and lots and lots of terms.
Wow.
And you can set a watch to getting a new piece of content from me. That's how consistent I am with it.
Now here's the thing though. Some entrepreneurs, they confuse posting random stuff as being content. So there's different types of content that someone can be educated by, content that somebody can be entertained by. Well, how does a person make the determination on the kind of content to put out there to their marketplace to drive their objectives?
Well, I do think that it's helpful to have diverse content. Okay. I don't think you can just have one kind of content. I also think that the name of the game is no longer about numbers. It's about engagement.
Say that again. Say that again. Let everybody get that. Say that again. What is it about?
It's not about the numbers anymore. It's really about your level of engagement. There are now systems out here where brands can go and measure your engagement with your audience. So it's fine for me to have 350,000 followers on Twitter, but if I'm not engaging with them, if I can't get them to do nothing, if I can't drive traffic anywhere, nobody's going to pay me to have access to my tribe.
Right. And the whole thing is the quick measure of your level of engagement is when you post content without you even having to ask people to like, share, tag, or whatever. Although if you do that, you can get a bump because some people are waiting for permission. But let's just put that to the side. Would it be fair to say, let's just take Facebook, for example, a good measure, a quick snapshot of your level of engagement is to see the type of interaction you get with the post you put out, shares, comments, likes, and all that kind of stuff. Would that be fair to say?
Definitely.
Now,
all of that is engagement.
Okay.
So everything doesn't have to be straight content. Sometimes you can put out a question, or you can ask people, personal stuff. Like, we just had Thanksgiving. You could have put something out there like, what's your favorite dish at Thanksgiving? Everything doesn't have to be exactly completely about your industry or your content or your expertise. Sometimes you can engage with people on personal level. I mean, listen, I will absolutely get on Twitter and talk about whether I like or didn't like Taraji or J-Lo's dress at the Grammys or whatever. I mean, I will do it because it's not just about business.
I don't think I can get away with that. People be like, bruh, what? Why are you talking about a dress? But I get it. So let me ask you this though. Okay, what about the entrepreneur that's like, hey, I can't get anybody to like anything that I'm putting out? How can entrepreneurs lift their engagement if they're getting none right now?
Again, what did I talk about earlier? I talked about the 6 C's of social media marketing.
Yeah.
Connection.
Yep. Communication.
Exceptional content. Consistently. Become a trusted member of the community, turn it into commerce. It takes time. It usually, when you first launch a blog, it takes anywhere from 6 to 12 months for you to get a comment.
Say that again?
It takes 6 to 12 months to get a comment from somebody.
Wow.
You will feel like a tree fell. like, did anybody see my little blog post, But again, or you could do like what I did. Like when I very first launched my blog, it was right when Michael Jackson died.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I wrote a blog post about the 7 things Michael Jackson taught us about business. Like there were all these people writing Michael Jackson this, Michael Jackson that. And I said, let's look at this man's business acumen because his personal management of his money wasn't so good, but his management of his career was excellent.
Yeah.
And that post went viral. It was everywhere.
Well, you took a totally different angle on the same topic. Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you can look at current events and try to see if you can do a tie-in. I mean, video is hot right now. So, videos are great. If you're doing videos for mobile, though, you got to keep them short, like 10 to 15 seconds.
Right. Okay. So you said something, and I want to make sure everyone picked that up. You talked about when you post something, it could be like 12 months before you get a comment. He said So here's the thing: when an entrepreneur posts some content and no one replies, they shouldn't get discouraged and quit the next day. No. And the other thing too is if you're building a blog, you shouldn't launch your blog with one little lonely blog post. You should have 10 up there so that people know the types of content you're going to be sharing. And that goes back to having the plan and having the content calendar and knowing you don't have to know definitively into infinity what content you're going to put out. So how much ahead would you say a person you recommend that someone decide what content they want to put out? But, not taking into consideration any emerging news. For example, you didn't know that Michael Jackson was going to die. If you did, that's a different conversation we're going to have. Right. So what kind of content planning should entrepreneurs engage in so they can stay ahead and be consistent with what they're putting out?
Oh, you absolutely should have an editorial calendar, and you should start blogging 2.5 months before you launch your blog so that you have an archive of blog content. The last thing you want to be doing is writing something the night before it's posting, because that's a great way to put a bunch of typos up on your blog. That's not what you want to do. You want to have an organized editorial process, and you do want to engage a copywriter, or bare minimum use Grammarly or something to check your stuff before you put it up.
Okay. When should an entrepreneur consider reinventing themselves versus repeating more of what it is they're doing?
That's kind of a tough one. I mean, I think even if you're successful, sometimes you got to rebrand, you got to reinvent, you got to freshen stuff up.
Right.
But I do think that you do have to get to a point where you got to fish or cut bait, right? So if you have been chasing a business model for let's say 2.5, 3 years, and it's not making money or enough money, you got to regroup. You got to reinvent.
Okay. And that's not a bad thing, right? It's not bad. It's not quitting, right?
No, because listen, you never lose in business. Either you win or you learn.
I was going to ask you about that. Because I love that. I heard you say that. Come on, talk to us about that. You never lose in business. Either you win or you learn. Go for it. Talk to us about that.
Well, I mean, because every experience you will learn from. I mean, I've been in business for 18 years. I'm still learning.
Right.
I'm still out here getting humbled by stuff too. You know, I still make mistakes too. And
no, you don't. How dare you say that? You make mistakes.
I do.
Right.
Imagine that. I'm human.
Right, exactly. So when a person is making a mistake in business, it's not the end, right?
No, it's not the end. It's just some lessons get to be more expensive than others.
Right. Totally agree. Totally agree.
You know what I mean?
So how should an entrepreneur handle mistakes? They made a deal. It didn't go through. They invested some money. They lost the money, maybe lost more than they expected to lose. Something's not working out right. They're not getting the lead flow, not converting the sales, not getting the attention, not making the connections. Man, they're frustrated. They feel like quitting, feel like giving up. They don't know what to do. What would you recommend?
Hire a coach.
Uh-oh. There we go. Okay, well, let's talk about that for a minute.
Get somebody to help you. Like if it's that bad, you gotta do one or two things. You gotta look at whether or not you're in a business that can actually make money.
Right.
Or if you just don't have the time, money, or experience to make that money. Or is there somebody out here that can help you get on the right track? Is there a mastermind group you can sign up for? Is there a conference you can go to? Is there a coach you can hire who has proven results? See, a lot of people go out here and hire coaches and they haven't verified the success that coach has had.
There you go.
And that's a mistake.
I love it. But how important is a coach? What about the entrepreneur who says, man, I'm not going to give my money to a coach. I can go buy me some Jordans, the new video game, a new whatever, OLED television, a new phone. I don't need to be. Hey, I need the new phone to do my business now. I got to have the latest and greatest technology to do my business. All the excuses not to put your money into a coach. How valuable is it for an entrepreneur to have a coach?
Listen. Every successful person has a coach. Oprah has 3 coaches. Listen, a coach doesn't do anything but shorten your learning curve.
No, hold on. Pause right there, because Oprah has 3 coaches, and it would be fair to say that those 3 coaches' combined income probably doesn't equal the net worth of Oprah, right?
Correct.
So even if you have someone that is a multi-billionaire still seeking coaching from not 1, not 2, but 3 people, that says a lot about coaching. I just want people to marinate there, because you threw that out there. I want to make sure that we pull that back so they can catch it in their mitt. Like Oprah, Miss Billionaire, Miss Multi-Billionaire has 3 coaches.
Yeah, because you need people to coach you about different things.
What about the entrepreneur says, I don't need a coach. I look, I'm good, man. I'm good.
Well, you either need a coach or a mentor. I mean, one of the things that sometimes you feel like you might not be able to afford a coach, right? And I get that. That's real. But you can always pull together what I call a kitchen cabinet of advisors. So what is that?
Yeah, what is that?
That is a group of people who are invested in your success. First of all, the first person in your kitchen cabinet should be somebody who's an existing entrepreneur. The second person in your kitchen cabinet should be somebody who is a customer or a potential customer. That person that could be that internal advocate to give you the low on what the real budget is, right?
Yeah.
The third person should be a mentor of yours who's not in your industry, just that wise sage person you call when your butt gets in a sling and you need some advice, right? And then your fourth and fifth person in your kitchen cabinet should be somebody who's a lawyer and somebody who is an accountant.
Yeah.
And the reason why you need someone who is a lawyer and who is an accountant in there is because, these are professional advisors. Now, if you've had the opportunity to go to college or be out here in this world, somebody who's a lawyer, somebody who's an accountant.
Right.
In my case, I happen to have a lawyer and an accountant in my immediate family.
Oh, that's beautiful.
One of my brothers is a lawyer. The other one is an accountant. My mother was an accountant too. Although they the last people in the world I want to take advice from, but that's another.
Okay.
Show. But my point is that you need to call on these people to be your confidential sounding board. And the reason why I call this group of people a kitchen cabinet of advisors is because these people will work for food. They're not trying to send you a bill every time you call them and ask them a question. But these people are also people that you need to be very careful with. You cannot ask these people for advice and then not take it and think you're still going to have a relationship. So you need to be very careful about how you utilize these people's time. And I like to get these people together in person quarterly, because a lot of times the people who are mentoring you might like to meet the other people who are mentoring you because they might want to do business together, And so I have found that to be very successful. If you're in a position where you can't really afford a coach yet, you need to utilize your mentors more specifically. And sometimes you just need that emotional support, especially if you are married to somebody or in a relationship with somebody or your close friends are people who are around you and they are not being as supportive of you as perhaps they should be. So that's the other reason why a kitchen cabinet of advisors is a good idea. And
you mentioned, don't listen to their advice and not follow through on it. What advice can you give to the entrepreneurs that have an issue with following through, taking action? They're really excited, they're really motivated, but they're just not following through. They dabble, there's just no full-on commitment to just get in there and take whatever is going to happen and build the business. What do entrepreneurs need to do, or what suggestions could you give to help them to just get up there and do it? They want to do it, but for some reason they just don't go and do it.
Well, there's two things I think about that. And that is this: you're one idea away from being able to do anything you want, but your fortune is in your follow-up. And if you are not willing to do the work, nobody's going to do it for you. Publishers Clearinghouse is not going to come knock on your door. Nobody's looking for you. But
they're waiting though.
But I promise you this: if you build a better mousetrap, the world will be the path to your door. But you got to tell them the mousetrap exists.
Okay, so now the mousetrap. Talking about the mousetrap, how do entrepreneurs test their ideas to see if they have a good enough mousetrap or a better mousetrap?
Well, you've got to build prototypes. You got to talk to people. You got to give some away free and let people try to break it. You got to get out here and test the market. You got to see what else is out here. How is the market being served now? I mean, a lot of times people are very arrogant and they think, oh, well, my product doesn't exist. No, it does.
Right.
It might not exist exactly like how you're thinking it, but clogs, there were shoes before there were clogs, right? So you got to think about how the marketplace is being served now and how you can come out here and have enough wind beneath your brand to get noticed. The other thing you've got to think about too is, even if you create something brand new that doesn't exist yet, you got 18 months after you release it before somebody comes out with a bigger, better one. You got 18 months before somebody doubles down on your idea.
What about persistence? Because it's easy as an entrepreneur to give up. what can an entrepreneur do to be more persistent in the face of all the different setbacks and the discouraging results that they may see when they're looking to get leads, build sales, close deals, make appointments, get people to adopt their idea, heck, even get people to like their pages, share their pages, and leave comments on their pages, go to their blogs when things aren't happening the way they want them to or the way they envision them to? How can they be more persistent and keep moving forward?
Well, you have to be around other entrepreneurs because steel does sharpen steel, right? Iron sharpens iron. You also have to always hearken back to who you really are. And I'm a firm believer in prayer. And a lot of times entrepreneurs don't access their power source. They just get stuck, or they get sad, or they get depressed because they heard another no. And
Right.
But your power source is in talking to the one who knows us all. And I just believe that, if God put it in you, he's already put all the things around you to execute it, but you have to activate it.
Wow, I like that.
And I would just tell my story very quickly. I mean, I had a vision and a dream 3 times when everything was going terrible in my life to become America's #1 small business expert. God gave it to me in a dream 3 times.
Wow. I didn't know that.
And after I was obedient to what he showed me, he moved every mountain out of my way. And I mean that sincerely. I mean, my first book deal, I didn't have an agent. I didn't even have a book proposal. I had 4 chapters and a media kit. And I ended up on the phone one day with a book editor in a completely different conversation. And I was like, well, I got a book. He was like, oh, yeah, well, who's publishing your book? I was like, nobody. I'm publishing it myself. And he was like, hold on. Listen, the first thing we are is a book publishing company. And I think you should have somebody professional review your ideas for your book. So why don't you send me what you have on your little book and I'll let you know what I think.
Your little book. Okay.
That's how he talking me crazy, right? And it was Thanksgiving in 2007. It was around this time of year in 2007.
Wow, a decade ago.
And I sent that man my 4 chapters and my little media kit, my little awards I had won in my business. And he called me back that January. He said, you got any more chapters? I like your little book.
Mm.
And I sent him 3 more chapters, and then he gave me my book deal.
Wow.
And my was due September 1st, 2008.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
there you go. I mean, you had no solid you used what it is you had.
Nothing. I knew, and what I know about how hard it is to get a book deal now, it was even crazier that I got it.
Man.
But, when God puts something in you, when God called you to do something, it cannot be ignored.
Yeah.
And it can't be stopped either.
So, I mean, you have a lot going on, and people really need to tune into your Small Biz show on Twitter. So let everybody know. We're going to have all your info on the show notes. You all know where to go, successsculpting.com, and get all the details so you can connect with Melinda, get plugged into everything that she has going on, check out her programs, her content, and everything. Because, yes, if you're talking about understanding how to grow a small business, she's the one, the real bona fide, not self-anointed small business expert, because you got a lot of people that say, hey, I'm number one. I'm number one. Nobody's going to have the social equity or the financial equity to prove it. So it's just a chest popping match. She has the visible evidence that she's America's #1 small business expert. So let everybody know how they can get in contact with you.
Well, I am the SmallBizLady everywhere on the internet. So Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, my name, Melinda Emerson. You can go to my website, succeedasYourOwnBoss.com. And every Wednesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern, I answer people's small business questions live on Twitter every week. Hashtag SmallBizChat. We've been doing it 9 years,
Wow.
Stephen. And we got to get you on, actually.
Get me on.
Yeah.
Get me on. An invitation accepted.
Yes. We got to get you on so we can make sure the world knows about you too, because you are fabulous.
Well, thank you. You're going to make a grown man blush. Come on, man.
No, seriously. I mean, and I'm really excited about my new book, Fix Your Business. It'll be out first week of February. I'm really, really excited about it. I'm going to be coming out on tour in March. And Houston, what city are you in, Stephen? What city are you in?
I'm in Whitney, Texas, about 90 minutes or so from Dallas and about 45 minutes from Waco.
Okay. Well, I know that I'm coming to Houston.
Well, I'm coming to Houston.
I'm coming to Houston for my book tour. So I definitely want to see you in person and give you a hug for real. And definitely, let's see if we can do a side event while I'm in Houston. So that would be great as well. So I'm really excited. I waited 7 years to write another book, and this is it. Fix Your Business is it. I think it's going to change a lot of lives and get to people to stop hiding and pretending like their business is doing better than it is. I'm actually going to give you a 90-day turnaround plan to fix your business. And here's my thing. If Beyonce can fix your life, baby, I can fix your business. Okay?
I love it. There you go. I love that. Boom. She drops the mic. And listen up, everybody. Her book comes out. You heard it. It's February 2018. Fix Your Business. And depending on when you're listening to this, you may be able to go get it right now, obviously, from Amazon. It's called Fix Your Business, a 90-day plan to get your life back and reduce chaos in your business. Be one of the first people to get it. Go to her website. Check out her tour schedule for next year so you can go and see her live. And hey, come to Houston because you'll be able to double dip and get a double dose because I'll be in Houston with her. Hey. You get some Melinda, you get some Stephen. Hey, listen, Melinda, I'm going to leave the last words with you. So what would you want to leave our audience with today?
Now is still an absolutely great time to be in business. The world is still waiting on a bit of Mousetrap. You just have to make the decision that you are going to serve the community and solve a problem. It's not about you. It's about the problem you solve. And if you stay focused on that and focus on a niche target customer, you'll be big in business. I'm sure of it.
Thanks for listening to the Success Sculpting Show with Stephen Pierce. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address, successsculptingshow.com, to your friends and colleagues. Be sure to check out our archives of previous podcasts and check the schedule to join us for our next live streaming Success Sculpting Show webcast. This has been a Success Sculpting Incorporated production. Join us next time for another edition of the Success Sculpting Show with Stephen Pierce, and tell your friends.